Have you ever felt like you're living a life you didn't actually choose? That no matter how hard you try, some invisible force always pulls you back into the same patterns, the same problems, the same results? And what if I told you that there's a secret the elite hides from all of us? A secret that, once revealed, gives you back full control of your reality. In just 15 minutes, you can access a power that's been asleep inside you for years. It's not magic, it's awareness. And once you understand how your mind, your attention, and your vibration operate, you can change everything. But before we continue, write this affirmation in the comments. I choose to live my highest reality. This isn't just engagement, it's vibration. Every word you declare with intention activates your frequency. Let's begin. You won't find this knowledge in school books, in the news, or in traditional universities. In fact, this is the kind of truth that unsettles the systems controlling the world. Because once you understand what you're about to hear, you free yourself. And that's why we need to talk about Jacobo Grinberg. Grinberg was a Mexican neuroscientist who dedicated his life to studying consciousness. He wasn't just another theorist. He was a man who dared to cross the frontier between science and spirituality, between reason and intuition. His studies on the neuronal field, a kind of invisible matrix that shapes reality according to each individual's mental state, challenge everything we believe to be real. For Grinberg, what you see, feel, and live is a projection of your mind, fed by what you believe to be true about yourself. And the most astonishing part, this field of reality can be intentionally shaped. This is where everything begins to change. Because if your reality is malleable, you don't need to fight against the world anymore. You just need to learn how to change your frequency. And that's exactly what we're going to do together right now. Have you ever felt trapped in a life that doesn't reflect who you really are? As if, no matter how hard you try to change, something always drags you back into the same patterns, the same mistakes, the same results. If that sounds familiar, you're about to discover why this happens and how to break free from this invisible prison. The truth is that most people live locked inside a mental program that runs in the background, an automatic system of thoughts, feelings, and reactions that shapes the way they see life and, most importantly, themselves. And this programming isn't based on who you really are, but on who you learn to be, a collection of memories, traumas, inherited beliefs, and past experiences. This system, known as self-image, is the filter through which you perceive everything. And here's the central point. Your outer reality will always be a perfect mirror of the inner image you hold of yourself. If you see yourself as limited, as a failure, or unworthy of abundance, that will reflect in every area of your life, no matter how much effort you put into change. And why does this happen? Because most of your daily thoughts and emotions, about 95%, are unconscious repetitions. They're echoes of an old version of yourself that keeps operating without being questioned. Your mind works like a transmitter and receiver of frequency, and the frequency you emit, based on your self-image, is what determines the reality you attract. Imagine living inside an invisible cage. You walk, you work, you dream, but you always bump into the same limitations. That cage isn't out in the external world, it's in the way you see yourself. Your emotional identity, what you believe to be true about yourself, is creating your reality. And the scariest part? It's all automatic. This isn't about bad luck, fate, or external factors. It's about your vibrational programming. And unless you become conscious of it, you'll keep living the same cycles, even if you move cities, change jobs, relationships, or your appearance. But here's the good news. This programming can be changed, and it all begins with awareness. The very fact that you're hearing this right now and recognizing that there's something beyond the surface is already a sign that you're awakening. From here, you'll learn how to break those inner chains. But first, you need to understand the foundation, You are not your story. You are the consciousness behind it. And when you begin to embody a new vibrational identity, everything around you starts to reorganize, almost like magic. But it's not magic. It's the science of consciousness, and it's real. Most people live believing they are what the world told them they are. You're shy, you're anxious, you're poor, you're limited. And these labels accumulate over the years until they form an identity, an invisible yet powerful structure that traps consciousness in a mold that was never truly chosen. But the truth is, you are not your circumstances. You are consciousness. This is one of the greatest revelations you can ever have. You are not your body, nor your story, nor your name, nor your achievements or failures. All of those are temporary roles, fleeting expressions of something much deeper, the consciousness that observes it all. And it's this very consciousness that has the power to shape any reality. Jacobo Grinberg, one of the greatest researchers of the mind and the structure of reality, proved that the external world we perceive is actually a projection of our internal perception structure. That means what you see as reality is just an interpretation, a translation of what you believe to be true. And at the center of this translation is who? Your self-image, your state of consciousness. The mistake is believing we need to change reality before changing who we are being. But it's the opposite. When you change who you are being, reality inevitably changes too. That's why transforming your life begins with recognizing this. You are a unique expression within the infinite field of consciousness. And that means right now you have access to any timeline, any possibility, any reality you wish to experience. But to access that, you need to stop identifying with your limitations. You need to let go of the idea that you're this way because you've always been this way. That's the trap of conditioned identity. And as long as you keep defining yourself by what you've lived, you'll keep reliving the past, not because the past has power, but because you're still carrying it as your reference. Think of consciousness as a blank, vast, creative space where everything can be generated. Now imagine you're using that space to project a movie you don't like, but you keep pressing play every day. Changing that movie starts when you recognize you can choose another one and that the projector is in your hands. You don't need to gain power. You already are power in the form of consciousness. You just need to stop feeding the idea that you're a prisoner of your circumstances. When you let go of the old identity and start seeing yourself as capable, worthy, abundant, free, that frequency begins to restructure your entire reality. Opportunities appear, people change, answers show up. It all begins when you remember who you are before who you were told to be. One of the biggest mistakes almost everyone makes when trying to change their life is this. They try to change the outer world before clearly and firmly choosing who they want to be on the inside. People say, I want a new life. I want to get out of debt. I want a better relationship. But they keep identifying with the same self that created the reality they want to escape. That's not change. That's repetition. The truth the elite hides, and that few dare to face, is simple. You don't need to change anything outside before changing the choice you're making about who you are. That choice isn't abstract or symbolic. It's vibrational. It's the inner decision to assume right now the role of your future self, the one who already lives the reality you want to experience. Think about it. How many times have you tried to change habits, behaviors, circumstances, and still everything came back to the starting point? That happens because the starting point never changed, and the starting point will always be your self-image, who you believe you are. If you keep believing you're limited, insecure, worthless, or unlucky, then any effort to change will be sabotaged by the frequency you're emitting. But everything transforms when you understand that reality isn't changed, it's chosen. To choose, in this context, doesn't mean thinking positive or having hope. It means taking vibrational ownership of the identity that already lives what you desire to live. It means deciding with emotional conviction that you already are the you who has clarity, abundance, personal power, freedom, health, or whatever state you want to access. And why does this work? Because reality responds to your frequency, not to your isolated intention. Frequency is made up of the thoughts, emotions, and beliefs you cultivate every day, whether consciously or unconsciously. And all of these expressions come from one base, the version of yourself you're choosing to be right now. So before acting, before changing routines, before asking the universe for signs, you need to make the vibrational choice. Who am I right now? That question is the portal, and your answer changes everything. From the moment you consciously choose to live your highest version, your actions change, your words change, your energy changes. And as an inevitable consequence, the reality around you begins to reorganize. This isn't about forcing life to fit your desires. It's about embodying your vibrational destiny with total trust. Because reality doesn't transform through force, it transforms through frequency. And that frequency is born from your choice, the most important one you'll ever make. Who do I choose to be from this moment on? If you want to know why your life feels stagnant, why the same problems repeat, why the same blocks return, why progress is slow or non-existent, look at where your attention goes during the day. That's more powerful than any technique, any course, any temporary motivation. Your attention is the lever that moves reality. Few people truly grasp this. Most believe reality is something fixed, out there, happening independently of what they feel or think. But the truth, revealed by researchers like Jacobo Grinberg and confirmed by ancient traditions and the science of consciousness, is that you don't see what's real. You see what you're tuned to perceive. And the key to that tuning is attention. Your attention is like a spotlight. Whatever it shines on grows. Whatever it ignores fades away. Wherever you direct your attention, toward fear, scarcity, failure, or toward gratitude, abundance, achievement, that is exactly what your life will reflect back. Focus feeds vibration, and vibration defines what you attract. Here's the trap. 95% of people's attention is focused on what they don't want. They're constantly thinking about problems, lack of money, past mistakes, worries about the future. Without realizing it, they're using their greatest creative power to keep alive what should have been left behind. You were never taught to control your attention. On the contrary, from early on, you were conditioned to react to the world, to chase urgencies, to pay attention to what others say, to what the media shows, to what algorithms push. But everything changes when you take back control of this power. Because when you direct your attention intentionally, you become the conscious co-creator of your reality. And here's the practice. Throughout the day, notice where your mind naturally goes. When you find yourself on autopilot, ask, is this line of thought leading me to the reality I want to live? If the answer is no, redirect it immediately. Use mental images, affirmations, uplifting music, positive memories, anything that shifts your vibration in that moment. This isn't escapism, it's vibrational discipline. You're not trying to ignore reality. You're creating a new one by stopping the feeding of the old with your attention. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You'll start to notice your external reality reflecting exactly what's been receiving your attention most frequently and emotionally. So pause right now and ask yourself honestly, where has my attention been leading me? Because in the end, life doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you're constantly observing, feeling, and keeping alive within you. If there's an underestimated and even ridiculed power that the elite deeply understands and does everything to keep hidden, it's this: imagination. The world you live in today, with all its experiences, challenges, and achievements, was first shaped inside your mind, through mental images you didn't even realize you were cultivating. What few know is that imagination isn't fantasy. It's vibrational engineering. Everything that exists in the material world was first born as an idea. But what transforms a simple idea into reality? The fusion of mental image, emotion, and repetition. When you imagine with emotional intensity, you're programming your mind to accept a new truth. And once the mind accepts that truth, it begins to emit a new frequency. That frequency, in turn, starts attracting experiences resonating with it. In other words, imagining isn't pretending, it's beginning to live internally. A reality before it manifests externally. It's opening the vibrational portal to the future you wish to experience. The elite uses this all the time, whether through strategic visualization or by controlling the mental images of the masses, advertising, media, narratives. They know the human mind builds what it believes, and what you believe depends on what you see repeatedly. That's why if you want to change your life, you need to start seeing something different inside yourself. Use your imagination as a conscious tool. Every day, take a moment to connect with your future self, the one who already lives the life you want to live. How does that person wake up? What do they feel when they look around? What do they hear, say, think? How do they walk, breathe, make decisions? Allow yourself to imagine in vivid detail and, most importantly, feel as if it's already real. The key is in the emotion. The rational mind may object, "This isn't true." But the subconscious doesn't distinguish between reality and vivid imagination. If you feel it, your body will believe it. And when the body believes, vibration changes. And when vibration changes, the universe responds. You can enhance this practice with small rituals. Use a vision board, listen to music that evokes the emotion of your future fulfilled. Write letters to yourself as if you've already achieved what you want. All of this tells your mind, this is the new truth. And over time, that new truth becomes your new reality. Imagination is the womb of creation. It's where everything begins. And if you don't use it consciously, someone else will use it for you. So ask yourself, what world are you imagining today? Because whether you want it or not, that's the world you'll live in tomorrow. Now that you understand the power of choice, attention, and imagination, it's time to take the most transformative step of all, the frequency shift. This shift happens when you finally stop desiring the life you want and start vibrating as if you're already living that life. This is the turning point, the moment when you stop trying to change and start embodying change. The truth is, your ideal future already exists as a possibility within the infinite field of realities. What determines whether you access it isn't physical effort, logic, or luck. It's vibration. The vibration you emit is the silent sound the universe hears. It's the signal that defines which events, people, and opportunities are drawn into your experience. And this vibration is made of the fusion between your dominant thoughts and emotions. Here's the central question. What do you feel every day? And more importantly, are those feelings aligned with the version of your future self or with the version of your past self? Most people wake up and automatically activate the frequency of the past. Worries, insecurities, frustrations. They try to imagine a new life, but feel like they're trapped. And that feeling sabotages any visualization, any affirmation, because the body doesn't lie. If it feels fear, scarcity, or doubt, that's exactly what will be projected as reality. The shift happens when you begin consciously fusing your thoughts with emotions aligned to your new identity. You think like your future self and feel what they feel. You imagine a life of abundance and allow yourself to feel gratitude, peace, enthusiasm, freedom, even if nothing has changed yet, because you understand that change must happen inside first. And here's the secret. The more you sustain this vibrational fusion, the more natural it becomes. And when something becomes natural, the subconscious accepts it as truth. And once it's accepted, this new identity begins to run your life automatically. That's when everything starts happening effortlessly. Opportunities show up, new people appear, ideas come with clarity. The universe begins to conspire, not because you asked, but because you became compatible. This practice requires discipline. Every day you'll need to choose. Will I keep feeding the frequency of what I already know? Or will I sustain the vibration of what I want to experience? That's the difference between living reactively and living as a conscious co-creator. Remember, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And when you are the frequency of your highest self, the reality corresponding to that version manifests with surgical precision, not by chance, by resonance. You didn't come here to survive. You came here to awaken, and this shift is your rebirth. Now that you know the secret the elite never wanted you to discover, there's only one question left. What are you going to do with it? It's not enough to know. You need to apply. And you don't need to wait for an ideal moment. The moment is now. Take 15 minutes of your day, sit in silence, breathe deeply. Choose who you decide to be from this day forward. Visualize clearly, feel intensely. Bring that version of yourself into the present. That is vibrational practice. That is real transformation. And remember, the world doesn't change when something outside shifts. It changes when you change the way you see yourself inside. You already have access to any reality. All you need to do is choose, feel, and sustain. If this video made sense to you, share it with someone who also needs to awaken. Leave in the comments, "I vibrate in the frequency of my highest self," and write it with intention, because that already begins to shift your energy. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We're just getting started. Your future is already ready. Now all that's left is for you to live in its frequency.